Welcome to Sistas and Law. Hi, my name is Judge T, and I'm here with my co-host,
Rosalyn Charles.
We're here, ladies and gentlemen, on this, our first actual Resurrection Sunday for 2017. We welcome all of you, those of you who are worshipers and went to church this morning, those of you who may be of Muslim faith or Christian faith or whatever, whomever you pray with. I went to 6 o'clock service this morning as I am a Christian, but I do know that we have a lot of Jewish friends out there who are also recognizing holidays that are pertaining to their religion. So we want to start out, as we have been in our last few weeks, with our attorney Roz giving us a word.
Well, you know, I don't necessarily have a quote there, per se, but I guess I have a number of questions. And to my colleague's point, many of us are celebrating various forms of renewal and rebirth in this season. And even in the coming weeks, in May, our Muslim friends will be recognizing Ramadan.
Yes.
There is a lot, as we always say, going on in this country as well as in this world. There is a lot of violence in this country as well as in this world. And
unfortunately, a lot of it's going towards our Muslim brothers and sisters too.
That is most unfortunate. But I guess what I'd like to ask our audience is, with all that we know, the Moab, or the mother of all bombs, was dropped in Afghanistan last week, and there are various acts of violence in the European continent, on the African continent, in the U.S., in the Asian continent. What might, reflect on this, what might Allah say about all that's going on in this world that we live in? What might Jesus say about all that's going on in this world that we live in? And what might the Buddha say? And I have some tenets from each of what I'll call, at least at this, I know I'm leaving folks out there, are Sikhs and numerous other ways to worship in this country and in this world. But Allah had something to say: if they seek peace, then you seek peace. Jesus might say, love your neighbor as yourself. And the Buddha might say that war is unskillful and evil.
Well, let me tell you, this is I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that right now, as the 45th is concentrating on a particular religion, be that our Muslim brothers and sisters, and a lot of these bombings are going on in countries where they are mostly of Muslim faith. But unfortunately, with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, there is a fraction of people who are of the Muslim faith, but do not, I think the religion in itself does not perpetuate the war that they are trying to, I think, use religion as an excuse. But on top of that, I think here in America, we are brushing an entire religion to think that they all believe in this war thing. And
you know, I think that it really depends on how you look at it. Mm-hmm. I mean, I imagine it if you sat in the Middle East, in one of the countries where I guess the Trump administration is trying to ban individuals from, they may have a totally different perspective yeah, on who indeed is the aggressor. I just know that war begets war. I know that violence begets violence. Yes. And we go back and forth. But ultimately, it's the struggle. It's the struggle, who's going to control? And it just keeps going around and around and around, and more people get killed as a result of it.
You know, remember when one of the things that I think that the 45th is going to be able to say, he did say on the trail more times than I needed to hear it, that he's going to bomb the shit out of everybody.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay, well, I'm sorry for those.
Those are quotes around.
That's a quote. That's exactly what he said, and I'm not.
Itself.
Hopefully, I wasn't offending anyone. But let's get it straight. First of all, he didn't bomb anything. and those that he's calling my generals, that's the military that Obama built. You did not, 45, put any of these generals in position. In fact, you still have 400 positions you haven't even filled, but those generals that were already there. But this is what I hate about war, and I'm not saying that every war is prohibitable, but give a man and a gun.
Well,
now we've got them. Did you see that room full of missiles?
yes, I did, and
And-
those
and
are
they-
massive. They're massive. It's a massive artillery that we seem to our arsenal that we have
Well,
in the United States.
those missiles that they call Moab, the mother of all bombs, their actual name is the Massive Ordnance Air Blast. They're only that is only second to our most powerful bomb, which is the atomic bomb. This bomb that we dropped is equivalent of a 7 on an earthquake scale.
Well, I guess maybe you would agree with me on this particular point, but typically war, violence, acts of that nature is the last straw, is the last resort. Have we gotten to that point? Is that what our generals?
Well,
is that
see,
what we're
I'm not-
saying by dropping such a bomb in Afghanistan? And then what was the point of? And what was the
the strategy?
What was the strategy? And what was the?
Well, yeah, we did that
what
to
was the
Syria,
harm to the
and
U.S.?
I mean, we struck Syria, and there was no plan. Now we've dropped the bomb on Afghanistan, and there is no plan.
Well, we don't
And-
know what the strategy is, but you know, a bomb like that makes a point.
Well, that's what. Well, you know what?
What's
If
the
we
point?
want to
So
start
we're
making
flexing?
points,
We're flexing.
well,
At a minimum, that's the point that has been made.
I think what the generals have said, and I have to take their word because I don't know anything else about it, and they're not going to tell us what they want us to know, is that that particular bomb was dropped in a remote area that was supposed to take out underground tunnels that ISIS is usually using to get to one place or another. That possibility of casualties of people that are not within ISIS is very low. Not that any person should be caught up in something that they necessarily are
But they
part
want to
of.
kill people.
But the purpose was to destroy ISIS and their hiding places within the Afghanistan region. So I'm going to give this the considerations that our generals no more than the 45th, and until I know differently, I'm going to just make the
You're gonna
assumption.
defer?
I
You're
need
gonna defer?
to defer in this particular instance only because I rather know that someone who's been doing it for 30 years and rather than 60 days has a better rationale on
Okay.
reasonings than we want to get from the 45th. He's just running around saying, I'm gonna bomb the shit out of everybody. Well, you know what? You can't bomb the shit out of everybody. Okay?
It's Sunday.
Well, it's Sunday,
It's Resurrection
but
Sunday.
you know
It's
what?
Rebirth and renewal.
Well, why did I? Okay, I'm gonna try. But nobody crucified that fool. So we got to live with him living, and we got to live with him.
Okay,
So
Sarah.
let's try
Sarah,
to. Let me
Sarah,
jump on a more happier
Sarah, my
topic.
goodness.
I know Essence is being recognizing what they're called the woke women, and they're recognizing 100 women in this coming magazine, and it says "Stay woke." I want to add 102 because myself and my soror Rosalyn, we are woke women. We are women who are on this show every week, not just to be seen, not just to have nothingness talked about, but we want to keep our conversation going with questions for those of you who won't make Essence Magazine, who won't be on the news
Well,
tomorrow.
I don't know who's in it. This is something that is coming forward, and I think that it's laudable on behalf of Essence Magazines to recognize women of such. But let us recognize the everyday women and men who each day reach out and try to remind all communities that this is our country and that we need to have a say in some of the things that are going forward. And I think that is happening more and more as people get more politically involved, that people are even know now who their congressmen and representatives happen to be, and are voicing their opinion on various issues. And it's not just because of us, but I'd like to say that we contribute some, but it's because of what's going on and how it is beginning to affect other people's lives.
Well, I want to continue the campaign on women, and recognizing this is, I think it's the 47th year for Essence Magazine, and Essence Magazine has been in the forefront on Black women, where we saw us in beautiful, where we saw us in doing things that are other than just pushing out babies. And so I give Essence its props on that. But more importantly, it goes in the narrative of women and our ability to control our lives and to be not strong-held by the male community, I should say. Because one of the backdoor things that Trump did, I think, was on Thursday, that Thursday night when nobody was looking.
Was that around one of the bombs being dropped?
See, this is
I'm
the
not
deflection.
sure how coordinated
Everything,
that effort. You've given all credit
because you notice
to the generals.
we haven't been talking about Russia as much this week, but yet Russia still is very pertinent in all of the leaking that has been going on.
You may have seen where English intelligence, the British intelligence, actually provided was ahead of the game when it came to the CIA as well as the FBI, and felt it necessary almost over a year ago to alert our intelligence community
and see, this is what I'm saying.
the contacts that were being had between Trump associates and Russian operatives in Europe itself.
But see, that's the bamboozle. Because the 45th was talking about this, he was going to do this. What is this? The super vetting of this.
Well, we know he doesn't vet his own.
Well, we're so busy worrying about vetting people from South America, yet he did not vet those who he put in his administration.
You mean Syria?
No. The Syrian, no, well, everybody, Muslims, period.
Okay.
I mean, he's stopping Muslims that are Americans. Remember, he stopped Muhammad Ali's son and one of his wives. So it's not, he's stopping people that he believes that are of Islamic faith. But that's one of the, I meant to say this before, and I'm going to just switch in it and get out of it real quickly. One of the things that I hear a lot of Republicans talk about, and they're trying to act like they care about Muslim women with the
I haven't heard that at all.
Well, no, they call it the Sharia law.
Okay.
And they claim
I
that
haven't heard that.
Well,
empathy or that care.
That's one of the
from any American. But go ahead.
One of the things that they talk about is the Sharia law, and about how the women have to be clothed, and they can't see anything but their eyes, and they have the long. Well, you know what? The last I looked at a nun, she just looks like pretty much like an Islamic woman. And nuns are Catholic.
Well, you see, we don't have a tendency to draw the lines that bind this whole, what I would in general call misogyny. And one man's misogyny is another man's freedom. One woman's misogyny is another woman's freedom. Mm-hmm. But like you said, I mean, if you look at the way that, I'd never even thought about it. The way nuns look.
Not even. Come on. We have now found out that in these all Catholic schools,
but women are,
and I'm not saying it's just Catholics.
It's a modesty. Women are supposed to be modest.
Well,
whatever that means.
There are, like in the Church of God in Christ, and some of the more conservative Christian belief. You have women with long sleeves and the turtlenecks. They're in normal everyday clothes, but they're
let's think about all of that.
We got Jewish women that cut their hair and wear wigs. These are all that go along with the traditions of their religion. So I'm not sure why we want to interject ourselves in the tradition of the Islamic faith. If they're women, if that's how they show the modesty in their dress, we are just like we should be out of women's bodies. So we're going to get into, that rolling back of Planned Parenthood.
All of these rules, all of these
men rules.
Exactly.
Men's rules.
And that, it suggests that men can't control themselves.
And
That's what it
and
suggests.
see, that is the bamboozle. It's not that women are all shouted up with clothing because men can't control their eyes. And men can't control that, that it is offensive
Why
to a
is
man
it? I
that
think-
he
I
sees
think-
a woman's
Well,
hands.
and I think it goes hand in hand in what I think you were about to bring up with respect to the laws, the federal laws, or the federal funding that is now being withheld from organizations that gear
Give
themselves toward,
monies to Planned Parenthood.
right
Now,
or women's health in general, but specifically those monies are withheld from organizations that perform or encourage
Abortion.
or at least talk about abortion.
okay,
But
I have
but again,
my
it's
thought
all,
process on
why
that.
is it? It's on the woman.
It's on the woman.
It's the woman.
But let me
Because
tell you,
she's-
this is my issue. Planned Parenthood, it's about 3% of what they do
Yes.
that's abortion. They do mammograms. They do general health care for women who cannot afford a private doctor. They do general health care, and they help to prevent women from getting pregnant that may
so
not.
no
want to be
funds
pregnant.
for any of that
But
because they
if you do
also
abortion, you cannot be funded.
So
That
no
fund,
funds.
that was one of the mandates that President Obama put in, that you could not deny federal funds
Right.
to.
well, they've done that on an
organizations.
international basis
But
too, in
this
terms
is-
of
this
giving
is-
aid, international aid. If those organizations that they give international aid to perform abortions, the
Well,
money
let
is
me
paid.
let me put this legislation in, and I want all of you, if you believe in what is being said, and you believe that women, not only Muslim women but Christian women, you look at Quaker women with the bonnets on, the
Yes.
long dresses. You look at some of women in many different faiths.
How
You can tell
modestly are
them.
men dressing in any of these religions?
Well, I mean,
Right.
the Quakers, they do their little hats and their, but even Muslim men are pretty covered
Okay.
up. I mean,
All right. So
they're
it
not
goes both
asking as
ways.
much from.
It goes both ways.
Right,
then.
but
All right.
but see, because I can tell you, as a Christian, it was a long time before I got the nerve to wear a pair of pants to church.
Okay.
And there is some Christian faith right now that a woman doesn't wear pants to church.
So you shouldn't wear pants, but you can wear a dress and expose your legs.
And well, let me tell you, I have been in church
Okay.
where if you're sitting on a row that was too close to the front row, one of the mothers of the church will come up with a big old handkerchief or a scarf and will throw it right over your legs. They're not asking you. They're going to throw it right over your legs. But why? Because the preacher who's looking down off of the pulpit, he can't control his eyes not to look at your knees. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this whole topic, this is a male thing that they can't control. But this is what I'm going to offer you men out there. If women have to take the brunt of a pregnancy and be forced to have a baby either by rape, by incestuousness, or a woman that is just too young, a young girl that is just too young to have a baby because her body itself may not be fully developed, then I want a DNA test done to determine who the father is, so that she doesn't have to take this violence to her body, because it is quite. My daughter's adopted, thank God. I wish I could have had a child, but I love my daughter just the same. But I have seen enough babies to be born, and all those hours of screaming and yelling and pushing and your body contorting out of different directions. I see women holding low, women high, who gotta breathe. Okay. All right. I want men to be charged with aggravated assault.
For rape?
No, not rape. Because the man does not have any repercussions that
Well, I
he
think
has
what
to
we're
go
really
through.
talking about
You're
when we-
forcing a woman
what
to
you're
body
really
to go
talking
through
about-
something that she doesn't want to go through.
Well, what
But
you're
on a
really
man's
thinking
choice.
about, what you're really talking about, in my opinion, because I hear what you're saying, is who's going to be responsible. And it seems like in all of these cases, the responsibility must be borne by the woman. So what societal responsibility are we placing on this?
No. I'm not even talking. I'm not even really talking about responsibility, because I think any baby born should be responsibility of both the man and the woman.
Yeah, of course.
But what I'm saying is, what does he have to lose in forcing her to have a baby? Because he's not going through no pain. He's not pushing out a human being
man
out
might
of their
say
body.
that he's not forcing her to have this child. That individual man.
Now the government is forcing it. But
might be
if you are
must have it.
if you're in you have the right to vote against these same issues that affect women as women do. And if you are a man and you are, because I see at many of these, most of the execution of abortion doctors are done by men. I've seen many of doctors that do abortion being killed. And most of them, I've not seen, and maybe I'm not saying that it hasn't happened, but most of these killings of these doctors are done by men on behalf of these unborn babies. Now, and mind you, I'm not going to argue, because we're in law, we're not in medicine. I'm not going to argue when a baby becomes a life, whether it be in the first trimester, third trimester, and again, because neither of us had a baby, can really tell what a woman is feeling in her body that makes her know or feel that life is there.
Well, again, I bring it back to the responsibility. So a child is being brought into this world, whether that child is wanted or unwanted, but the government is suggesting, or at least based on the laws that have been written out of the books at this particular point, that, hey, don't do anything to terminate that pregnancy. But I want to see the flip side. You want to see aggravated assault charge.
I want to see
what are you doing? What are you doing to care for that baby?
I want to see
Is
men.
there health care? Will that child have health care? Who's going to support that child throughout
But
his
see,
life?
that's why I say there is no strategy, because you're forcing women to have babies that they may or may not want, or may, for whatever health reasons, should not carry
that child.
But
again, the government
are they going to have a universal health care that's going to pay for that child that I can't afford? Are they going to pay for the care over the 9 months that prepares her body to take care of that child? If they're going to give her housing, wait a minute, are they going to give her housing, education?
You're on your own.
They're telling you you can't control your body. I'm telling you what you can do with your body, but I'm going to make you pay for. You're going to pay for what I say you have to do. Now, in the vote last week, 2 Republicans actually voted against this bill.
Okay.
And Pence and his super conservativeness. See, because you got to understand, this is my position.
Are there jobs out there to help support this child? Go ahead.
But you remember, Pence is the one who actually said that gays can be, you can pray the gay out of people. Yes, no. See, Pence is crazier than Obama. I mean, crazier than Trump.
Okay.
Obama has had so many things rolled back under this administration. Pence couldn't wait to get in. And to be, you can be sure, Pence is waiting quietly in the background, because he knows if the sugar honey iced tea hit the fan, who's going to be the man? That's going to be Pence. And so he doesn't care how crazy that the 45th is, because he's going to be the backup.
Well, there are multiple layers of crazy within the Trump administration. I think we also need to be concerned about Jeff Beauregard Sessions and some of the things that he said. But we're talking about the rollback.
Beauregard still thinks, and I am disturbed by this. He believes that he is the 45th attorney. He believes that he believes he's the 45th attorney.
I think he has his own agenda, and that agenda is, among other things, is very, very pro-police. Very, very anti-civil rights.
But Beauregard, is equal to Steve Bannon. Beauregard is just as racist.
Well, Bannon's on his way out, or at least he's been demoted.
He has not yet been kicked out, but I think between Ivanka and her husband, they're kind of getting a little tired of him. Now, you know, it was crazy how they say that he was only brought in to oversee Flynn. Now, if you knew that Flynn needed to be overseen, why would you choose him to be ahead of your NSA?
Well, you know, I'm not even sure if he was brought in for that purpose, but I think what generally has happened with Steve Bannon is that he got a little too big for his britches. And I would suggest
there's no loyalty to the 45th on supporting people.
And it seemed to becoming more and more about Bannon as opposed to more and more about
they're
Donald Trump.
thinking that the big decisions that the 45th is making is not his thoughts, but Bannon's thoughts. And one thing about the 45th, his ego, if nothing else, is huge.
Well, what's gone out thus far, or at least post-Bannon demotion, is videos of the 45th prior to his election, indicating where he had many of these thoughts and many of these, if you will, strategies. Long time ago.
We know that he didn't have any bombing strategies.
Essentially saying, Bannon, you did not make me. You came in late in the campaign. I was like this even before. Now,
no, these are flip-flops. Because remember, he was pro-NATO. NATO was obsolete. Now NATO is not obsolete. Stay out of Syria. That's their problem. He's no longer against Syria. He was at one point right to choose, and now he is... anti. So he will flip flop to wherever it looks like he needs to be if it looks like he's getting bad press. What the best thing that these generals did for him last week was drop Moab. That kind of shut down the discussion of we're not talking about Nunes anymore. The fact that Nunes very well may be looking at some charges himself.
Oh my goodness.
We're not talking about the fact that you have Manafort having to go back and now register.
What is with this retroactive registration? I mean, let's just be very basic. If my license, my driver's license, is not effective today, and I get
and
caught
you get a ticket.
I get caught.
You don't get to
retroactively. They don't want you to
retroactively
go back and retroactively register for something. So what they're seemingly saying, and maybe I'm wrong, and I haven't done the research, that if you were operating as a foreign consultant, foreign agent, and you just forgot to register, you can go back. It's not it. You can become legal retroactively. So it was an illegal act, or at least some form of illegality. And without penalty or anything, Flynn did the same thing. He retroactively registered.
And is it Roger Stone that has to also retroactively to register, because he is now been found to be the unmasked name.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so the fact that we have so many people, and no, it wasn't Roger Stone. Roger Stone is because Roger Stone and Trump have been friends for a long time. Roger Stone was the one. Carter Page is the one who has to go back, because Roger Stone is the one who introduced Tillerson to the 45th. So we have so many.
Condoleezza who did that.
I did hear that on the backside. Condoleezza Rice did that. I wonder why she didn't come up and be a part of this, except she has her loyalty to the Bush family. So that may be her reason, but I don't want to look into that any more than it has. But what we're talking about is we're talking about extreme vetting of people who may very well be citizens, or people who may very well not be doing anything, but because...
Or people who may very well be victims of oppression, of the violence within their particular country at the hand of Assad, caught in the middle between Assad and ISIS, and they just went out.
But see, this man is that he wants to, he doesn't even vet who's coming in his own administration.
Well,
And okay, the other thing, while we're bombing people in other countries, and it may or may not have been a necessary bomb within Afghanistan, I'm going to give that to the generals and say that they know a little bit more than what the 45th knows. Syria, that's one that may or may not have been necessary, but what we do know,
I think the greater issue, they want to send a signal
to Assad.
No, not just to Assad, but to Kim
Jong-un. Did you see
to
that?
North Korea. He's been flexing over there.
With this war game that these boys are playing, I mean, these like little boys playing war games on their PS3.
Yeah.
And it's getting a little bit much. You got him rolling down the big parade with all his missiles, and so you got to show our room with all our Moab bombs in it. For someone who said we had a depleted military, I see at least 100 bombs in that room that we're not using, but they're shining them up like new car, like a man shines his new car, man.
Well, it's all about perspective. It's all about whatever the narrative happens to be. I just know that the United States is the most powerful army in the world.
Hypocrites. We're hypocrites. We want to tell a woman she can't control her own body, yet Arkansas is trying to expedite the death penalty for 8 people in 1 week.
Oh, so you because the argument between the death penalty and abortion because they're both killing.
They're both killing. So you're telling that a woman that she's killing an unborn child that we don't know what it is or isn't going to be.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that's a nuanced argument. I generally am against the death penalty.
But you know why? We'll take the 45th. The 45th who put a front page
You mean the
news.
5th? The 45th.
The 45th.
Okay.
The 45th who put a front page article in the New York Times asking for the death penalty for the young men that was charged with that rape.
That was a long
15 years ago. But 15 years of DNA and research found that those boys were innocent. Had we listened to that fool back then, and New York was actually doing the death penalty, we could have killed 5 young boys for something that they have now found to be innocent of.
That's generally why I'm against the death penalty.
Yeah, because there are people that are animals. Okay.
Yes.
You have that fool that was killing and eating folks, Jeffrey Dahmer. We've had some
clearly there are situations where I would
people
mind
of
exercising
sick minds.
it, however.
But the fact that we can make a mistake at some point that may not be found out in the case of those young boys in Central Park for 15 years, you can't bring somebody back.
Let's bring some commonality here to the extent that we are one of the only civilized, quote unquote, whatever that means, civilized nation that still is a proponent of the death penalty. However, we do have in common with many of our Middle Eastern countries because they promote the death penalty. So,
well, you know what? And I don't know if any of you, I mean,
not
some
that
of you
everything has to be a clean
about
line.
death.
Well, it doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be just because you do, I don't. But what are we saying? The Buddha said war is unskillful and evil. I would say that the death penalty is unskillful and evil.
I can't necessarily go with that 100% because even in the Bible there was war and there was a killing that, based on Christianity, was justifiable. So I am not, but that's an argument. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that if you want to start critiquing everybody's worshiping book, the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, or whatever book the Book of Pearls by the Mormons, because if you let the Mormons tell it that Jesus and Lucifer were brothers, and Lucifer was turned black.
And your point would be that.
And my point is, everybody has a story, and but see, some of these stories,
it's just a story.
But the stories are not getting told if they don't want you to know it. If you go back until 1978, Mormon faith believed that blacks were the descendants of Lucifer. You can go back and you can read it for yourself. But nobody asked Mitt Romney about that belief. So what I'm saying is, and it's not that I'm sitting here to bastardize Mormons, but they got some sugar honey iced tea in their closet too.
I know that if this is what I believe, that if you go back to the individuals that are given credit for the various religions, or the greater religions of the world, if you go back to Jesus, Allah, the Buddha, or any of the alleged originators, those people were men of faith and men of love, and that their story was written down by folks other than themselves, and there's been an agenda, and so I denigrate none. I don't denigrate
those
words
any
have been
of
written
them
by men or human beings or persons other than those who initially spoke them.
Well, see, I'm a Christian,
Yes.
and I choose to follow, more importantly, out of everything in the Bible, that love. If I just take love and treat my fellow man with love, then that for me kind of negates those things that I may have question of in the Bible, because I do question some things, because I do realize that there were men of blood and sweat and tears that we had that were the interpreters. That's why we have King James Version. When
Right.
somebody has a version, that means that there was an original text.
Of course.
Okay,
of course.
and the original text I've not seen.
The Bible was
So,
translated from Greek to Aramaic, and
You
back
know,
and
you
forth.
can't. I mean, you can't even straight interpret a line in Spanish straight into a line of English.
Of course.
So you're talking about Aramaic and all the other languages that were spoken in the time of Jesus that has been now translated into thousands of languages. Let's just go back to the telephone game. Remember,
Yes.
you start at the head of the class. You whisper in their ear. This person have them go back to the 20 kids in the class. By the time you get to the 20th kid, you may have said Mary had a little lamb. And they by the end might be saying the fleece was white as snow.
Most of the traditions were oral traditions.
Whenever you
And
have
100 or more years
if man
later,
has touched it, it is no longer perfect. If man has touched
that,
it is
I
no
will
longer
agree-
perfect.
That I will agree with.
And that goes along with just about everything. So as we have these different discussions, we want to continue to be activists on issues that are concerning us. We have primaries that will be coming up in New Jersey in June. So those of you should be already.
It's a gubernatorial primary. Yes.
Some are gubernatorial and some are mayor races. So you should have been, for those of you who plan to vote, and this is one of the big issues. We sit and have all these conversations and all these marches, yet nobody's going out to vote, and especially in the.
I suspect they'll
except
be
for
going in these coming weeks as well as
a
these
lot
coming years.
of people, other than presidential elections, do not vote on local elections. How we get people into Congress, into senators' positions, is from politics starts local.
Well, I think it is very local, and I think that those who are running and those that seek our vote need to earn it. I think that something is very basic, is asking for my vote or that individual's vote. It's not just
You don't deserve it. Yeah,
it's not just what you're saying. It's not just the tenets that you stand upon. It's not just your rhetoric. It's, did you knock on my door in some way, shape, or fashion and recognize me as someone?
Absolutely. I got a call from Ted Green, who's running from East Star, and she said he saw one of our shows and he asked to come on, so we will be having him on as a guest within a few weeks because the elections are going to be coming up. And also with Phil Murphy, who's running for governor of New Jersey. We do know that some other folks are coming
Are we going to
out.
be fair and balanced?
I think, you know what,
Because
we're going to send out,
we're-
I'm going to send out an invitation to everyone who is running. I mean, they called us, but
Right.
I will, in order to make sure that
we
there's some
say that
balance.
so we
I
can-
think John Johnson is an African-American brother from Montclair.
Well, what about on the Republican side?
Oh, I don't. Whoever. I don't care. I mean,
Okay.
if they really want our vote,
Yeah.
you know, because I had a big argument with a friend yesterday till I had to hang up on him, and it was about we were talking about the necessariness of having conversations with the 45, and how he thought that black people were unfair to Steve Harvey. I said, you know what? I don't. If Donald Trump called me right today.
Yes.
And I will say this right here on Facebook Live. I would go to Trump Tower. But let me tell you this. No. I will go and I will have a conversation. But if he calls me up there for some bull crap, we will not be coming through those gold doors with no cameras flashing. I'm going to do like Manafort did.
What are you saying?
Because
you're saying that we need to engage?
We need to engage this fool. Because if we do not have a voice, he's going to say, well, why didn't you ask for something? What did you ask for? Because one of the arguments that my friend and I were having is, well, what did Obama do for the historical black colleges when he was there? He couldn't do any more than the Senate and the Congress allowed him to do. He doesn't get to just write out checks to folks. But also, I can tell you that a lot of things that he did for the African American community did not get publicized as much as some of the other things that he did.
Well, I just think in general that we need to be a part of the conversation as well as a part of the solution. And what happens is that many times the politicians will hear you, but they don't act. It is interesting to me that I wonder who some of these representatives actually represent, because they seem to vote against things that, let's just say they're polls. Let's say you take a poll and you find that 90% of Americans are anti-war, yet we're dropping bombs. What if you take a poll and you find out that 65% of America is pro-abortion, yet we are... So who are we...
But that's what I'm saying.
Who are they representing?
If you are pro-life...
Do they represent the individuals? Are they representing the individuals or the...
But you can't say you're pro-life and you'll drop a bomb on a country that's going to kill. You had what you call the spoils of war. I mean, there are people that are going to be killed. Yes, and Assad is still running around talking about that man was holding fake babies. The man who lost his wife and children.
Assad has no more credibility than the 45th does, because Assad is obviously spewing out lies, but we know that the 45th has much trouble with
all about Assad up
the
until
truth
this.
Also. So
but see, I don't. As much as that was horrific, I don't need a president who reacts on something he sees on TV. Because
I think
we
that
already
was a storyline. That's the way it was. That's what he said. I don't think he reacted that way. I think again he wanted to make a point, and this was his excuse to make a point to the rest of the world.
Nothing changes the narrative like war.
Exactly.
Nothing changes the narrative like war, and so, ladies and gentlemen,
he's hanging out with China now.
Well, he's trying to, but and
I will give him credit. Meaning the 45th for telling Russia, don't hang out with Assad anymore, because that's not a
But
good
before
thing.
we wrap up, let's not forget the one thing that he did do that you, ladies and gentlemen, really need to be cognizant of, because this has never happened.
What is that?
He has now made the logbook of whoever comes into the White House no longer public. For public
What is that
viewing.
about?
Because
ever know who goes into the house that our taxes pay for?
And no longer. The people's house. It's like somebody coming in your house and you no longer get to find out who it is. He has now made the logbook of the entry of the persons who come into the White House.
Or the Nunez's?
Well, he also, now we have no right to know who comes in to Mar-a-Lago. But yet you're taking international officials to Mar-a-Lago to talk about official business.
More and more, they try to, the less and less transparent this government or any government happens to be. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to be concerned. That's a problem.
Well, we as you know, we're going to a little bit longer because we're no longer going to be doing for the summer the taped shows on Wednesday. We're still going to have shows that are going to be up on Wednesday. We're going to be showing some of our shows on Wednesday that are taped on Sunday. Next week, you're going to have a tape show as we're going to be polishing up our game in the city and doing some work to make our presentation to you a better source of information and how we are presenting it to you. So again, we want you to go to our Facebook Live on Sundays at 3, our shows on Wednesday on YouTube. We have our www.com, which is our webpage, and email us. So some of the things that you may not be short or a topic that you want. It's sistaslaw@gmail.com, Twitter, Instagram. Please continue the conversation. We're going to be here each week, Sisters and Law. Thank you for joining us. And again, happy Resurrection Sunday.
Live on Facebook. Take care.
See you soon.